Yeah.
Oh, welcome everyone. So tonight we have a trigger warning. This conversation is going to include discussion of alcohol addiction, suicide. It may include profanity. I heard, it will include profanity probably because we cuss like sailors. But as we speak honestly about realities of addiction and the recovery, these topics may be difficult for some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling, please consider reaching out for help to a trusted person or professional.
Are we ready?
And we're ready. We are ready.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pages from Rock Bottom, where we share real stories of addiction, recovery, survival, and the moments that change everything. Tonight, we are joined by Tony Grubb, who is sharing his journey through 30 years of alcohol addiction, multiple DUIs, jail time, and the moment that led him to seek recovery. Tony attended his first AA meeting on November 12th, 2016 after waking up bleeding in his driveway and has remained sober since that day.
Woo! Welcome, Tony. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Thanks, Kim and Matt. My name is Tony Grubbs. I'm from Albany, Ohio. I've been born and raised here in Athens. Uh, I did take a little geographic move. That'll be in my story here in a little bit to Florida for 2 years. But ended up back, thank God. So there's Thomas and Lily's area on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little, I guess, of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Mm.
So I'm really very confused on. I had a wonderful childhood.
Yeah.
My parents, they both worked. I'm a child of three. I'm the middle one. Had a younger brother and an older brother. I still have a younger brother. My older brother is no longer with us. I'll get to that later here in my story. Um, and we had a good childhood. I mean, I we lived in the country. I spent a lot of time on a bicycle or on some of yous, it's a mule. I'd saddle our mule. We had
Yeah.
mules that we would go coon hunting on, and
Yeah.
I would saddle the mule and take off to my friends. And we, hey Billy, she's in my story. uh, we I would ride the mule to friend's house and go fishing. And you know, uh, like I said, as a child, and both my parents, I can remember uh, getting up, going to school. Actually, yeah, we'll just start out with that. I was probably this was probably the first sign of something that wasn't right with me. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I had a problem with my nose would bleed, just start bleeding, and
Mm.
I'd have to go to the hospital and get it burnt, or the doctor and get
Oh,
it burnt so it would quit bleeding the vessels. And I woke up one morning in mom and dad's bed because they let me sleep with them because my nose was bleeding, and the whole bed was solid blood. Well, my nose had quit bleeding, but they told me, they said, if it starts bleeding, call us from school and we'll come and get you and take you to get it burned again. So I go to school. I'm in gym class. I go to the bathroom and I start hitting myself in the nose to make it start bleeding so I could
oh,
get out of school.
yeah.
The gym teacher calls me or calls my parents. Back then, there was no such thing as a cell phone.
Yeah.
And they come and get me. My dad does, and takes me and gets my nose cauterized and then takes me fishing. So we spend the rest
Oh,
of the day fishing on the water. So right there, that tells me as I get in more into my recovery, I remember this stuff, and I'm like, that that's not a child in right. You know, my mind's I've got something up here ain't right.
yeah.
It's rattled, and that's why I drank the way I drank for years. But you know, besides that, you know, I was one other quick story when I was a kid. I threw a rock at my brother who was going to get ice cream. And was in the driveway, and I had lunch with him today, and I threw a rock at him, and he ducked, and I knocked the window out of the side of the car. And I was like, "Why'd you duck?" He's like, "Really, dumbass? You think I'm going to let you hit me with a rock?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get my. We don't get ice cream that day. I get my ass beat because you know
Of
back
course.
then they, you know, you cut a switch and you got your punishment,
Yeah.
and it wasn't abusive. It was just I deserved it, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but you know, besides stuff like that, you know, it's just normal childhood. And I was always scared of because neither one of my parents, I think their 50th wedding anniversary, they they redone their vows and they went to the Rainbow for a reception. And I can't really remember because I was drunk before they even
Oh,
started the reception. Um, and they might have got a little tipsy that night. That was the only time I ever seen either one of them really drink alcohol besides a drink, you know, at New Year's Eve. Or one other real quick story: the deer hunters used to come and stay all night with us, and they'd bring mom a bottle of black velvet. That black velvet would set in the cabinet for always. Well, come New Year's Eve, she went to make her a drink one year, and she went, "This tastes like water." Then
Nah.
Tony, and I had been getting in it, drinking out of it,
yeah.
and then add water to it to keep it, you know, full. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man, I never even
Carrie,
thought about that.
Never even thought about doing that.
No, I
Damn.
just drank it and thought they wouldn't notice.
no, I'd
Yeah.
always had it back up to where it was at. We done the same thing with cigarettes. I don't smoke now, but we would take a pack of cigarettes and pull the other packs out. So when she would reach in the carton to get a cigarette or pack of cigarettes, she wouldn't realize that she had to reach back further in the carton. So, but another thing just popped in my head, just telling some few childhood things here before we get started. She would lock up the snacks. We had a little wooden box, a snack box. I think I got it here. She gave it to me before she passed away. Uh, I would take the screws out of the back of the hinges and take the snacks out of it and then put the screws back in it. And then when she'd unlock it to get in it, the snacks was gone.
You were like a little MacGyver growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always could come up with some stuff to trying to get caught, but I was going to get caught. But
Yeah, for sure.
but anyhow, you know, 16, 17, I still was staying a pretty straight line. And then I'll never forget my buddies one time, they said, we're going to the 33 Club. Let's go. You want to go to the 33 Club with us? That was a big place up here back in the day that all the teenagers and underagers went to that could drink. They would serve you. It's a big dance hall. I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, but we can't let mom and dad know long I went there. And I'm 18 years old saying this, but I was living at their house knowing that if they knew I was drinking, I was going to be homeless because they wouldn't put up with it. So I go with the guys and have a drink. And boy, was it wonderful. As people say all the time, I had a drink, and the shy, bashful, not talking Tony become going to the girls and dancing with the girls and on the dance floor and just a whole different person, you know, after alcohol was in me. And you know, that became a normal thing for me to do on the weekends was go to the 33 Club. I ended up one of my first DUIs was leaving the 33 Club. Imagine that on 13. Actually, no. Now that I think about that, wasn't my first. My first one was in Albany. uh, yeah, yeah, because I started. Well, let's go back. I'll get all messed up here at times, but um, I ended up doing that, and then I met. See, I think I was a senior in high school. I was working at a gas station called Redhead on Richland Avenue, and my boy's mom was a cashier there, and I was a maintenance person. And she had a really fancy little RX-7 car, and I wanted to take it for a ride. And I was like, "Let's go drink some beer and go for a ride in your car." So we do that. Well, you know what happens? We get mess around, and next thing you know, we're dating. Next thing you know, she's pregnant, and uh, we actually she moves in because my mom and dad had a camper at Lake Snowden, and they lived at Lake Snowden through the summertime. So at 18, 19, I'm taking care of the house, supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The house was nothing, and you can ask anybody in Athens County. I had the party house because every time we went to the club, people would end up. I would get up and come downstairs, wouldn't even know who's in the house, walking over top of people, laying on the floors or whatever. And but Michael was born in 1990, and I think he was about 3 months old. We were supposed to go to a concert. Mom and Dad was going to keep Michael. Well, we was going to meet up at Maplewood. She didn't show up, so I started going to different bars, and then I'm like, well, I know where she said she was going to be, so I went to the house where she said she's going to be. Well, she was in bed with this lady's boy, and I sort of lost all control and was beating, out of him, and then she took off, and I went chasing her, and I come through Albany. At that time, the AMVETS was in Albany, in town Albany, and I come around the corner, and I hit one car, sideswiped it into another car, and left.
Oh,
Kept on driving. Hid the truck. This is the sickness of me. I hid the truck because I lived a block from where that happened. Went to the house, parked the truck behind the trailer, went in, got in bed, was laid in bed and thought, no, I gotta take this truck and burn it. I gotta get rid of it. So I get back up, get in the truck, drive to her brother's house to find him to follow me. And the people that I hit the vehicle seen me and got me and took me back to Albany. And I ended up, that was my first DUI. And oddly enough, the guy that I hit the first vehicle, both the other two vehicles was his too. So I hit all three of his vehicles.
damn.
Yeah, took all his vehicles out. Yeah.
Made that first one count.
Yeah.
Dad shows up at the scene because mom can't come because she's got the baby. He's like, well, you see what alcohol does to you. And they took me to jail that night for the evening, and then they come and got me out of jail that night or that next morning. And it went completely to, complete craziness after that. That girl had me, or I let her have me completely screwed up because not probably 3 months after that, I get taken from the 33 club. They take me to my mom and dad's house, drop me off. I'm drunk I don't even remember this. I'm just told. I told my older brother to take me to the Lakeview to get my truck so I can go find her. He's like, you're too drunk. You can't drive. Go to bed. I go out, get in my younger brother's truck. The keys was in it. I drive it a mile and park it in the neighbor's garage. After I hit their conversion van and knocked the corner post of the garage off, it was laying in the bed of the truck. I leave the scene because I know I'm in trouble. I'm going to get busted. So I leave the scene, turn myself in 2 days later. Of course, the first thing the deputy sheriff says was drinking. I'm like, well, no, not normal people park cars like that.
Yeah. And somebody
I
else's
ended up,
garage.
that should have been one of the first signs because my brother went to court because they wanted to get me for stealing a vehicle. And my brother's like, I'm not going to have him put in prison for this, but he has a drinking problem. He needs a lesson. So they ended up putting me in jail. That was when it was uptown for a week. I done a 7-day stint uptown in the county jail, and they let me out every day to go to work. I walked to work every day and then walk back to jail. That's such a miserable feeling to turn around and have to walk back knowing they're going to get locked up at night. But as I look at it now, I deserved every minute of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy. I ended up. Let's see. We finally completely separated, and it was probably the next year. No, Michael was 3. Michael was 3 when this took place. I had taken him and his stepsister to Benton County. They used to have a dirt track race down in Benton County on Sunday afternoons, and I'd taken them down there to the race, which, being a good father I am, I was drinking while I was doing that with them and driving, and come back to Lake Snowden so they could spend some time with my mom and dad before I took them back home. And when I pulled into the gates of Lake Snowden, the gate person said, your parents are trying to find you, because this was way before, as my friend used to say, it was before BC, before cell phones. They said, there's been an emergency. Your brother is taken to Columbus, and that would have been my older brother, Chuck. And I took Michael and his sister to his mom, dropped them off, and went to the hospital. When I pulled into Glennis, they said they've life flighted your brother to Columbus. He'd shot himself with a 357, and they knew I was drinking, so they left somebody here to drive me up there because they knew my habits of drinking, and they knew I would have drove to Columbus if knowing that my brother had done that. Well, they had him in surgery for I don't know, several hours, but he lived. I mean, it took his teeth and his eyes, blew his eye out of socket, and they was able to, but he lived through that. And I still can't believe the sickness of the alcohol addiction, because I can remember, because I was a bartender at the Lake, and I can remember him coming up there with his mouth barred shut, taking a syringe, sucking beer out of a glass and putting it in his mouth and drinking the beer with a syringe. And I thought that was cool. I thought it was awesome. Oh, look at my older brother. He's drinking beer through a syringe. He can't even talk. That's sick. It's crazy. Done cocaine with him. Well, I snorted cocaine off of. I come home one night and there was a line of cocaine on my son's picture at my mom and dad's house, and I flipped out on that one. I'm like, I'm not doing coke on my son's picture. Put it somewhere else and we'll do it. Yeah. And I would have been a coke fanatic if I didn't want the money for alcohol. I wanted to drink. I didn't want to waste the money because I knew what that stuff could do to me. And when I get on down the road here, I'll tell you more about it in Florida. But yeah, then yeah, that happened in 94. So I guess Michael must have been 4 years old. And took this bright idea. Well, I'm going to take a trip on the motorcycle. I was riding bikes back into. And I was like, I'm going to take a trip to Myrtle Beach and spend a week on the motorcycle. Now, remember, I had this wreck with my brother's truck.
Yeah.
So they took my driver's license because $27,000, either you pay it or we're going to hold your license until you pay it off.
Oh, yeah.
So here I am running all over the country with no driver's license and had the bright idea that I'm going to ride a motorcycle in Myrtle Beach with no driver's license. And a girl that was hanging out at the bar said, "Hey, I'm moving to Florida. I'll have a house in Florida. Why don't you just come there and spend a week?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'll never forget the look on my mom's face the Sunday I left her yard on a motorcycle, headed to Florida with not a driver's license one. And I drove all the way there and all the way back and never got caught. And spent a week down there and partied the whole time. Fell in love with Florida. Come back home. Told my mom, dad, my son, the people I work for, 2 weeks, I'm leaving. I'm moving to Florida. And mom and dad's like, you that's not a good move. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm like, I'm going one way or the other. They're like, well, we'll take you if you think that's what you need to do, because there's no way I could haul everything down, on a motorcycle. So they loaded me on the truck and trailer and hauled me to Florida and dropped me off at this girl's house. We wasn't dating or nothing. I just rented a bedroom off of her and partied. No job, no nothing. Going to Florida. Well, 2 weeks down there, and I'd always been able to get odd jobs and stuff when I was bartending through construction guys and stuff like that. So I'm like, the best way for me to find a job in Florida is hang out in bars. Alcoholic thinking again, but it worked. I found a really good job within 2 weeks. I was working at a truss factory, building house trusses in Florida within 2 weeks of living down there. Then they realized when I started doing that I knew a little more than just, because they had a lot of prisoners that would come from prison there to work, and just it was one of the places that I'll never forget. If he didn't have work lined up for Friday and Saturday, he paid on Wednesday because he knew nobody would show up on Thursday and Friday. If he had work all the way through the weekend, he wouldn't pay until Saturday. Well, when he'd pay on Wednesday, Thursday morning, I'd still be there, hungover as all get out. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I got to work. I got to have money." So he's like, "I'm going to put you on the framing crew. You can start going to Jacksonville and building houses in Jacksonville with my framing crew." So I did that. And once again, was just still drinking and drinking. Come home one time, the girl's like, "Man, you smell like gasoline." And I'm like, "I should. I fell off the motorcycle like 5 times on the way home. Every light I'd come to, I'd fall over. And I could remember people helping me set it back up. I'd get on it and keep, well, as long as I was moving, I was good. When I'd stop, I'd fall over. I was drunk.
Yeah.
And it's odd that I made 2 years down there and never got pulled over by a cop. And I mean, it got to the point that I got into the white stuff again because it was very accessible and very cheap down there. And I'll never forget, I picked the payphone up and called my mom and dad, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I said, "If you guys don't come and get me, I'm going to die. I'm going to die down here if you don't come and get me." And they was there within a day to pick me up, to haul me back home. Haul me back home. I'm going to be better. If you let me live with you, I'll get a job. I'll do better. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
This was, that was probably in November of 90, probably 98. Yeah, roughly right around there. And I'll never forget Super Bowl Sunday. I was like, man, I'd like to go up to Lakeview and watch the Super Bowl. And I'd already been walking from mom and dad's house. They was probably, 5 miles from the Rainbow at the time. It was a bar on 33. I'd walk to the Rainbow and drink, and then somebody'd end up giving me a ride back home that night, or I'd walk back home. It didn't matter. But I rode my motorcycle on Super Bowl Sunday one night in the snow to the Lakeview so I could drink and back home. And but
He said, no.
yeah, I rode it with snow on the ground to the Lakeview to drink.
Phew.
And then I ended up well, it was funny because I ended up getting a job. A buddy of mine got me a job at Benton County down at Conway Lumber in MacArthur, and I started working down there riding a motorcycle. Once again, this is going on probably, I'm going to say 5-6 years with no driver's license. And I'm riding to MacArthur every day on a motorcycle in the wintertime to get to work. My mom always told me for years, she said, you always could hold a job, you'd always work. But she said, you could get Social Security for alcoholism. She said, you have a problem. I'm like, no, I don't, Mom. I said, I'm always at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's the only reason I'm getting caught drinking. But I was supposed to meet a girl down there and spend the weekend with a buddy down there, and it didn't work out. And I come home and I was like, well, I'll go to the Harley shop and get some stuff to work on the bike tomorrow and change the oil, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, left there, and I'm like, I'll stop at the DAV at the time. I was like, I'll stop there and have one. Yeah.
Just one.
Always one.
Just one. Yeah, just one. And I stopped there, and I run into an old guy that was a firefighter that was a friend of mine, and we got to drinking, and the next thing you know, in comes his daughter, and we get to drinking, and next thing you know, I'm following her home to her house, and she crawls. She literally crawls to the toilet to throw up because she can't walk. And I literally told myself right then, I'm going to marry that girl. And I did. We ended up getting married. I believe it was a year later, we got married. And we stayed married for 12 years. We was married for 12 years. And my drinking and driving slowed down a little bit because I had a driver then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she would always get mad because we'd go to her sister and brother-in-law's house and drink on the weekends and around the campfire and stuff. She's like, why can't you, because she had CDLs, she's like, why can't you not drink one weekend and let me drink and you drive me home? I'm like, I can't do that. Why would I do that? I'll never forget, we took a trip on the motorcycle to the Smoky Mountains and on the bike, and she's like, let's go to Cracker Barrel. And I tell a story all the time. I said, I'm not going to Cracker Barrel. They don't sell alcohol. I'm not, back then, it didn't sell alcohol. I'm like, I'm not eating somewhere that don't sell alcohol. I want alcohol with my dinner. And we was riding, it was a storm like tonight. And I was like, she's like, we was on the bike. She's like, we got to get to a hotel. I'm like, we pull in, they're like, I said, where's the closest place that I can, get a 6-pack of beer tonight? And they're like, this is a dry county. You got to go 30 more miles up the road to get. I come back out and I told her, I said, "You got 30 more miles to ride." And she's like, "There's a storm." I said, "We'll be all right." We rode 30 miles through a storm just so I could drink at night. And just crazy, craziness. And but it's funny how the 12 years of being with her, but now that I say, it just hits me now. The reason I did get in trouble was, one, we didn't go to bars. We made an agreement that we didn't go to bars unless we was together. And she always drove, so why would I get in trouble? Because she was driving. So, but we ended up getting a divorce. It was a bad divorce, very bad divorce. I caught her with another man. She said I fished and worked too much, so she wanted a divorce. And I spent several years of anger and resentment of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to, and as I say, I got to make amends to her probably 2 years ago. That was a year and a half ago. She showed up at my work, and I was like, "We need to talk," because them 12 years that we was together, I was mentally and physically abusive to her when I was drinking. I am a complete asshole when alcohol was in my body. 100% asshole when alcohol was in my body. And I always thought it was her fault.
Yeah.
I look at it now. Why in the hell would she have spent 12 years with me? The selfish, self-centered asshole that I am. Why?
Yeah.
Why would she? So, hell, I showed up at her house one night, kicked her door in, went to jail for that. Drunk. They couldn't catch me because I hid that night and then turned myself in the next day. But just drunk, crazy, stupid shit. And the sad part is that's just mild stuff. It gets better with alcohol. Let's see, when did it? Let's see, yeah. Trying to think. The next we got divorced, and I ended up with the house. I kept the house because by God, you left me. I'm keeping the house, and you don't deserve it. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping everything. You're only taking the stuff that's on that you have on your back. I called her one time because she had a bag of clothes sitting on the front porch. I come in drunk, tripped over them, and that time the cell phones was out by then because I said, "Come and get your stuff," and she's like, "I ain't got time tonight." Well, she was out drinking too, probably. I know she was, and I took a picture of her clothes on fire on my front yard. I just took the bag out, set it in the yard, and set her clothes on fire, and sent a picture to her and said, there's your clothes." She come and got her stuff pretty quick.
Sounds like something I would do. How I would do it sober. You know what I mean? I get mad, just throw the shit out there and set it on fire. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm not joking. I get mad enough.
And that's another thing that I learned in sobriety is anger is a big, big problem with me. And it's a big trigger for me. Big trigger for me. Because as we said before the show starts, it's easy to get the efforts. And when the efforts come, I'm in trouble. But anyhow, let's see. I got a DUI in the wintertime. I'll never forget that one. When me and her was together, I got a job offer to become a supervisor of an apartment complex. And the lady said, for you to get this job, you got to get your driver's license back. And I'm like, okay. So I had to file bankruptcy to get my driver's license back. And so I got my driver's license back because, I had a 12-year stint there, nothing, no trouble, because I'd had like 2 DUIs before that. And the sad part is I've tried to count. I keep saying I've had 11 DUIs, and I know it's real close to that. It may be, but anyhow, I know I got another one in the wintertime right after I kicked her door in Albany, because I had a snowplow on my truck, and they literally pulled me over within, I could see my porch light where they pulled me over at. And I argued with the statey that I was going to go out and plow snow that night. And I did go out and plow snow that night. After a couple hours of laying down, I got up and went out and plowed snow. And he took my driver's license that night. Let's see, then I got through that one, and I got one on a Harley. Do remember that, leaving Pomeroy. Yeah. I know that at age 16, I took my driver's test and got my license. I think I was right around 35. Yeah, about 33, 35, somewhere around there. I retook my driver's test again, the whole test, and got my license. And then at 48, I had to do it again, take the whole driver's license and everything to get my driver's license. So I've taken 3 driving tests to get my license back 3 times.
Yeah.
But I just insane things after insane things that went through my life through that divorce to where it got me to where I was at. It was funny because about, I'm going to say probably 2000 and, well, because I still have the job. I got a job offer at Market on State in Athens, and I'm still there. I'm the manager of that place. I've been there for like 14 years. But and the reason I say that is I would I got called. One of my bosses took me to dinner one time, and he said he'd found out that I got in trouble. Let's back up, because before he did that, I got a DUI leaving a smiling skull on a Friday.
Mm.
The following, no, on a Saturday, we was at a band. Had a DUI leaving a skull on a Saturday. The following Friday, me and the girl I was seeing from Benton County was down by Meg's Mine 1, and a deputy pulled up behind us. DUI number 2 in 1 week. And then we had went, me and this girl, on Memorial Day weekend that year, we went to over at West Virginia at Summersville Lake, and state had my license. And at this point, no, I hadn't yet. We got into it, and I dropped her off to her house, and I went to Lakeview, and I left to Lakeview. They all said, "Don't drive home, don't drive, you're drunk." Like, I'm fine, I'm going home. I'm getting out of here before I get into, because another thing that I'd spent many a times doing was wearing a black eye. I wore a black eye a lot because, like I said, go back to that with women, it was the same thing with men. I wanted to fight every time. I was so angry with myself. I didn't care who it was, what it was. And usually I would find the biggest person in the bar to try to fight. And I'd usually get my ass kicked. And but I didn't care. You know, I would go into rage and would not care.
Yeah.
But that night I was coming through Albany and the lights come on and the Albany marshal come up to me and they said like, is there a reason your your tail lights ain't on? I'm like, headlights are on. He's like, you got a beer in the console. I'm like, oh, I do. He's like, let me see your driver's license. I'm like, I don't have them. I have, he was like, you're on work privileges. You're drinking and driving while you're on work privileges for your license suspension.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So there's DUI number 3 in 6 months.
Damn.
And so they got this nice little thing. Actually, it's a wonderful thing. I joke about it, but it's a wonderful program called DUI Court here in Athens. And every Wednesday, we have you come to court, and you have like a quote probation officer you check into. And I was on that. I was in the DUI program, and it's drug too. They do DUI and drug court at the same time. And I was telling them, you know, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking. You know, and they can come to your house, search your house anytime they want. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't drinking and
Sure.
driving. Yeah, because I thought it's my driving's the problem. Drinking's not my problem. The driving's my problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just kept telling him, you know, I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm doing good. Well, that was like I said in May when I got my last. So probably June, July, they put me in this DUI court. Well, November 12th, 2016. Actually, it was November 11th. There was a Ohio State football game at the Lakeview. And I'm like, I'm going up to that during the day. So I call my son. I'm like, hey, take me up to the Lakeview. And when I'm ready to come home, I'll call you and you can come and get me. And so he's like, yeah, I'd rather you do that than drink and drive. And so he goes, he takes me up there. And then I guess I call him, another friend of mine. I was supposed to go to a tournament the next morning. He's like, when you talked to me on the phone, you didn't even know you was talking to me. And I didn't. I don't even remember talking to him. He's like, I knew we wasn't fishing the next day. And as you can see, fishing is a very big passion of mine, and alcohol took over it. Every chance that I put a drink in me, fishing went out the door. Now I did show up sometimes, but it was never good. But anyhow, I guess he come and got me, brought me home, and I vaguely remember walking up my steps, and I don't know if the door was locked. I didn't go in the house, and I remember turning around. Then the next thing you know, the next morning I wake up on my couch, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, I tracked myself through my house of blood, and my driveway. I should have sent you a picture of it. It looked like you gutted the deer in my driveway. I don't know how many hours I laid there. I don't know anything about what happened. I actually called my son and sent him a picture and said, "Did I get in a fight last night?" He's like, "No. What happened to you?" You know, I don't know. And I don't know if somebody jumped me still to this day in my driveway.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I passed out walking down the steps, face planted in the gravel. I'm almost positive that's what happened.
Yeah,
But let's
that
back
picture was rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's back up. I forgot about one other accident that I had. I was coming from the AMVETS. It's always a bar involved. You've seen this pattern. And usually a woman too. I always said alcohol and women was my problem. I hit a sheet of ice and lost control of a Honda car and hit a tree right in the side of the car here. I got out and walked to my son's house. It was 12 degrees outside. I walked probably 3 miles to his house, knocked on the door. I had this idea of cutting through the country, through the woods, and thank God, I didn't do that. I'd have died that night. He's like,
Yeah.
"What is going on, Dad?" And I'm like, "Call a friend of mine, have her come and get me. I've been in a wreck." I said, "The car's, I think, pretty well destroyed." So she comes and gets me. She's like, "I'm taking you to the hospital." I'm like, "No, you're not. No, we're going to your house. If I feel bad tomorrow, we'll go to the hospital." Next morning, I can't get out of bed. I can't set up. She has to help me set up. She takes me to Holzer Hospital in Athens, and they say, "You got 2 choices. Us call a helicopter to take you to Columbus, or you get in her vehicle and get there right now." I'm like, I'm not going to have a charge expenses of a helicopter ride.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
she can take me. She takes me to Grant Hospital. Within 5 minutes of walking through the emergency room, they're cutting all my clothes off of me. They're cutting a hole in my side, putting a tube in my lung. I had a collapsed lung, busted sternum, all my ribs in the front, collarbone. I spent 7 days in intensive care in Grant Hospital. They actually the next day come
Damn,
and put
you walked
another
3
tube
miles
down through my.
like that?
I walked 3 miles and went to bed that night in 12-degree
Oh,
weather. That's why if I'd have went through the woods and tripped and fell, I'd have
Oh
died.
yeah, you've been done. Yeah.
Yep, I'd have died right there. You know, and I'm going to back up more because when I was married to my first wife, her and my mom and sister-in-law always went to a diet thing, and then they'd go out and have pizza afterwards to celebrate. It was called Tops.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in my garage working, and I get a phone call from a lady, and she says, "I just want to let you know your brother. We found your brother dead in his house. Don't think you're coming down here." Blah blah blah. That was a long story, but I said, "Well, I got to get a hold of my mom and dad and stuff." So I called my younger brother and told him. I said, what had happened, that they'd found Chuck, because once he'd shot himself, he got into pills and snorting and just going down a path of complete disaster. He would call me in the middle of the night and say he's coming to kill me. My mom and dad refused to have a phone in their bedroom for years because he'd call them and say he was coming to kill them. The Satan got a hold of him, and I mean, he ended up he rolled off of a couch, messed up on pills. The lady had seen him that day and knew he was messed up, but just left him. He'll be all right, because he'd get that way at times.
Yeah.
He rolled off the couch and had a footstool sitting beside the couch with no top on, and his head fell down inside the footstool, and his body was on the outside, and suffocated him. He strangled him
Oh.
because he was so messed up on drugs he couldn't pick
Yeah.
himself up. So it suffocated. He strangled himself. Lived through a 357 bullet go through your head and then die rolling off a couch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but that's what this addiction will do to you.
Yep.
But just like me, why didn't I die the night that I'm walking through, with the collapsed lung, broke, all that? Laying out here in my driveway, it was probably in the 20s that night, laying there bleeding. And I still to this day say, God shoved me down them steps,
Yeah.
because I'll never forget, I went to the AMVETS in Athens that next day with my face all bandaged up and everything, but I could not drink. I'm like, I've got a problem. I cannot drink anymore. I've got to stop. My boss told me, I started to tell you that before. He took me to lunch one day and he said, "Tony, if you don't get yourself together, I'm going to have to fire you. You ain't doing no good with me in jail." Because them DUIs, I did end up doing 3 weekends. I'd go in on Thursday night, and then get out Sunday, go back the following Thursday, get out Sunday. And just a quick story of that, I had a girl going to pick me up. We was going to the ice house to drink on Sunday. And I walk out of the jail, and there sits my brother. And I'm like, fuck. Sorry. I'm like, no drinking for Tony tonight because little brother's here to pick you up. And I'll never forget this. It sticks to my head nonstop. He had the top off his Jeep, and as we're pulling out of the jail parking lot, he looks at me dead serious. He's like, when have you been in trouble that alcohol hasn't been involved? And I was like, you got a point?
Yeah. Yep.
Every time I get in trouble, alcohol's involved. Knock on wood, 9 years. I got a seatbelt ticket 2 days ago. I deserve it because I didn't have my seatbelt on.
Yeah.
I could argue it and fight it, but I'm going to go pay it because I put it on as she was pulling me over. I was wrong. Go pay the fine. And that's what this program's taught me. But, and like I said, I'll never forget, I called the guy that I was supposed to go fishing with. I still to this day, Randy saved my life. And I tell him that all the time. He called me and he's like, Tony, he says, you got a problem. He said, we got a friend that's in AA. Why don't you go to one of them meetings with him? And I'm like, you know what? I ain't got nothing to lose. Why not?
Yeah.
I can't keep living like this. And I walked in the Clem house on a Monday night and sit down. And when it come to me, I said, I'm Tony. I'm an alcoholic. Now I announce myself. I'm Tony. I will always be an alcoholic because it ain't never changing. No matter what happens. When I become not an alcoholic, it's the day that I die. Because it's always going to be. It's always going to be in me. But I went to that meeting and I related to everybody that was talking. Everybody. And I ended up started, and I had to go in front of the judge, the DUI court judge, like that.
Yeah.
And what do you tell the judge? That you're not. Yeah. How did you end up like that? And I just told him, I said, I was drinking, I fell. I think that's what happened. And he could have put me in prison right then because I had a prison sentence over my head. He could put me in prison right then. He's like, no. He's like, I'm going to give you one more chance. And I was having to go to meetings with HRS, meeting with people, and Debbie, click it or ticket it.
That's what she said. Ticket.
But I told the judge because I was going, and no offense, like I said earlier, I could have been a drug addict just as quick as I could have been an alcoholic, or am an alcoholic. But I was going to meetings or I call them circle jerks, and they was talking about their addiction with heroin, their addiction with this and that, and I'm the only alcoholic sitting in these meetings. And I told the judge, I said, I'm not getting nothing out of the meetings, but when I go to AA meetings, I'm relating to the people. And he's like, start getting your paper signed for AA meetings, and you don't have to go to HRS meetings. The next week, I come in with like 12 meetings signed that I'd been to that week. Because I have a guy that I sponsored early on, and he's like, 90 and 90 is no such thing with Tony. When I started into the meetings, I took the alcohol sitting on a bar stool and turned it into sitting in a chair in an AA meeting. I would go to 2 and 3 meetings a day. I still to this day, last Thursday, I went to 4 meetings, 7 a.m., noon, 6:30, and 8 on Thursday. Just because it's AA saved my life. AA has saved my life. And I spent 4 years in AA, going to meetings and going to meetings, going to meetings. I worked my steps after about a year. I don't suggest that. Do it soon. Get through the steps. A quick, and about 4 years, I met my next wife in AA, and we got married. She had just about a year, and I was about a year and a half, I think. 2 years, almost 2 years sober, and we got married. We stayed married for 5 years, and then we realized that that wasn't a good move. She wasn't happy. I wasn't. Uh, I was still being selfish, self-centered, and we are now. She's on here. I won't say her name or nothing, but for anonymity's sakes, but we are best friends now because we both go to meetings, and we know that we both was wrong. And now, at first, I didn't think I was wrong, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, and she to this day still a blessing to me because I I see where I was wrong, and that's the thing. And I spent my first 7 years. I spent living in. I've just come to this conclusion in the last probably year or so. I spent seven years in AA living in step 1 and step 12, knowing that I could not drink. Alcohol was my life was unmanageable every time that I drank, and and helping others. I got to help others to stay sober. I've got to help others. As you can see on here, all these guys, comment and stuff. I'll do anything for anybody in AA. My phone's on 24/7. I'll answer it. I'll come talk to you if you're sober. If you call me drunk, I can't help you. When you get sober the next morning, call me and I'll help you. But I can't help you drunk. It don't work. But the judge give me a chance, to do that, and I owe everything to him because he could have threw me in prison. If he threw me in prison, where would my anger and all that? Where would it go? He actually, and I said about fishing and all this stuff that I went through and I done through the court system and stuff. I was able to be on a state team for the state of Ohio and had a chance to go to South Dakota to fish a tournament, a national tournament. And he gave me driving privilege to pull my boat to South Dakota to fish a tournament. He literally gave me in writing paper to where I could drive to South Dakota to fish a tournament. What judge does that? But yeah, and like I said, 7 years of doing what I done. In my 7th year of sobriety, this is when it gets a little bit. I left an AA meeting, pulled in the parking lot, turned around and left the AA meeting, come to my house, sat down in my recliner, and said, "It's time, Tony. It's time to. You're miserable. You hate yourself. End it. Go in the bedroom, get the pistol out, put the bullet in your head. Be done. Nobody's going to care. It's done. Just do it." My phone goes off. I get a text. The lady that's on here sends me a text and says, "You're going to be at the campfire meeting. I got eggs for you. I got a dozen eggs." She's never in her life offered me a dozen eggs, ever. And I met her probably 6, 7 months before that and just thanked the world of her. And I was like, I can't tell her no. I get up and I go to that meeting and I tell him I was going to blow my brains out about a half hour ago. And they all surrounded me and hugged me and just took me, they saved my life. I mean, they saved my life because it changed. Uh, to this day, things get tough, but it ain't worth putting a bullet in your head. There ain't nothing worth doing that. And as I told you earlier, 3 months later, I get a phone call. My son and his wife's fighting. He's drunk. I'd been trying to get him to go to meetings because he was drinking fireball after fireball and drinking and the job, drinking all the time. Just constantly drinking. And the sad part was when he was 16, 17 years old, I thought it was cool to take him to the bar with me because he was my son. He could drink with me. And he would drink with me. One of the worst fist fights I ever was in, and I never hit him, but he beat me to death one night in a bar fight. I mean, he beat me till I had to take glue and sew my eyelet back together with super glue. But she called me. They was fighting. I could hear him screaming in the background. Well, shortly later, because she'd always want me to come over, and I'm like, I can't do nothing when he's drinking. I cannot do anything with him. He'll want to fight me, Well, it wasn't shortly after that she called me and she said the law's coming. He's got a gun. I'm like, yeah, let the law take care of it. That's what they're here for. Well, probably an hour and a half later, I get a call and she says, Michael's killed himself. So I haul ass over there. And the deputies come out and start talking to me. He had given 3 guns. In the house with him, and he'd turned 3 guns over to him, and the deputy said, I thought I had him talked out. And he sent a text to his wife and said, hold Caitlin's ears, which would have been my 7-year-old granddaughter, and he pulled the trigger and shot himself. I had tried to call him probably 3 minutes before that, just trying to talk to him, because I knew if I could talk to him, I'd talked him out of situations before when he was drunk. But that's the worst tragedy I ever had in my life besides my mom. When she passed away, I got sober November 12th, 2016, and mom died of cancer December 8th of 2017. She got to see me a year sober, and she loved it. She was in nursing homes, and she would literally look at me and say, you got to go to one of them meetings, don't you? And she'd tell the nurses, my son's at AA. My son's at AA. He's not drinking anymore. She was so happy. She passed away. One of the last things she told me was, please don't drink, on her deathbed. And I said, I won't, Mom. I won't drink. And it would, it's a blessing that she ended up passing away, because she had to bury her older son. And my dad now has buried his son and 2 grandkids. I got a niece that OD'd and died too. Be my older brother's youngest daughter. They found her in an apartment. But when I went to the funeral for Michael, my son, the people that showed up in AA was completely unbelievable. It showed me what AA is. It showed me what the people in this program is. My family would say, who's that? Is that one of your guys is in the, I'm like, yeah, that's somebody in AA. And on a funny note, like I said, I've been married twice. And that night I had both ex-wives in the same room.
Yeah.
Ex-wife number 1 come up to me, and when she walked through the door, I was like, and I hadn't made the amends to her or nothing, and it floored me because I thought she hated me. I really thought she hated me. She should have hated me. She come up and hugged me, and I said, "I can't believe you showed up." She's like, "He was a son to me. He was like a son." She spent 12 years with him, watched him grow up.
Yeah.
And then my other wife, she was always around me. She called me at 7 o'clock in the morning when she heard that that Michael had done, because she loved Michael too. Michael was, everything to her. But one thing that I have learned, and that's what people say, I had a sponsee one time said he relapsed. He said, "You don't understand. My uncle passed away." And this was shortly after Michael had done what he'd done. And I was like, "Are you effing kidding me? You think that that's the reason to go use or drink? If I drink a drink of alcohol, Michael's not coming back." And that's what I told people. They're like, "We can't believe that you're not going to drink over this." I'm like, "What's drinking going to do for Michael?" I have to show people that there's nothing out there worth drinking over. All it's going to do is make life more miserable. And after all that, it finally hit me. I ain't had God in my life all this time. I kept acting like I did, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And I have God in my life. God is my life. Higher power. I always say in meetings, and I heard it early on in sobriety, a power greater than me. I can't move a car in the parking lot, but the group of AA can walk out in the parking lot and move that car. That's a power greater than me.
Absolutely.
And I just God. And I always say too, if I drive the bus, I go in the ditch. If God drives the bus, we do a pretty good job. And there's times I am not a saint at all. I stepped sideways just like the other day when I got that speeding ticket, lying to a statey. And I'm sitting in my mind going, really? Where's that honesty at, Tony? That's why I'm not fighting it. I could go to the judge and lie to the judge that give me all the opportunities he give me now. No, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. That is not showing new people or showing what the program's taught me. Go pay the ticket. You was wrong. And that's what, with and I got to keep God, because God has got that rattling that's been in my head for years that I drank and kept it calm. God's got it now. I used to always say, it's funny, in meetings, I used to always say I got the devil on one shoulder and God on the other, and they're both whispering in my ear. The devil's gone. God's knocked the devil off my shoulder. I just have God now. I just have God, and I got to keep him there. And like I said, it's not always, what's the saying, butter, whatever. It ain't all joy and happy and all that. There's always something that comes along. And God shows me all the time. Yeah, I'm one of them ones want to go, do this, do that, get moved, go. Something will happen, and it's like, you're telling me, ain't you, bud? Slow down. Slow down.
Okay, Jesus. That's what I say. Okay, Jesus. I see you.
You're smacking me. And I'm not. They say I get on my knees every night and pray. Now in the mornings, I'm usually out of bed and clothes and out the door. I got to be at work at 7 o'clock because I've already taken a shower the night before. I'm up, dressed, and on the road by, I leave the house at 10 minutes till 7. I'm at work at 7. And I got out of bed 5 minutes before that. It's just up and go. But
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, watch over me today. Make sure things are good. Another thing that I've done for years through sobriety is listen to AA leads when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I travel all over the country and spend hours and hours in a vehicle driving, fishing, pulling a boat, and I listen to AAs after AA after AA leads. And I told a guy the other day, you can go on YouTube and find funny AA leads. If you want, if you need a laugh, you can listen to a funny one. It don't have to always be serious. But another thing that was the God thing. I think it was 5 years in my sobriety, real close to that. I had a sponsor, and we wasn't really clicking. And this gentleman come up from Florida, him and his wife, on vacation, and come to an AA meeting. And he, when he shared, I'm like, wow. And at that time, me and my wife was still together, and we left the meeting, and I was like, wow, I'd like to have. He's got everything I want. I would love him to be my sponsor. I said, but it wouldn't work. Yeah, he's in Florida. I'm in Ohio. 6 months later, they come to a meeting and said they bought a house here in Ohio. It was moving here.
Yeah.
He's been my sponsor ever since, and I love him to death. He is. There ain't a page in the big book that he can't tell you and what number it is, and he knows the big book in and out. I'm not the best in the big book. I go through the big book with my sponsees, and I'm not one that complete the steps, hurry up and get the steps done, because you got to live them. I've seen so many people do the steps and go back out because they're not living them. You got to live the steps every day. Just like I said, the seatbelt ticket. There's honest. Got to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't have to be 100%, but when your gut tells you you're wrong, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
I can't. When this tells me we're in trouble. When I got a great friend that I didn't see him on here tonight, but he always told me, and man, it stuck to me. When I'm here, I'm consulting with an idiot.
Yes.
When I get in my head, I'm consulting with an idiot.
I can relate. I can relate with that. You know what I mean? I have to stay out of there. Like, I'll visit her sometimes. Like, we have conversations sometimes, but listen, I cannot stay up there with her for too long. I have to leave.
Yep.
Nice seeing you. That's where you're going to stay. You know what I mean? As long as we're on the same page. I'll be back soon sometime.
Yep.
Yeah. I can relate with that for sure.
And I tell all of my sponsees and people in the meeting, you get in there, you're messing with the devil, or I am.
Yeah.
Because not only alcohol just took care of getting rid of all that.
Yeah.
I drank enough alcohol, it would get rid of that. It quieted that. Now I don't have alcohol to quiet that. So I got to let God quiet it. And got to. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what does recovery mean to you today? Like, what does your sobriety mean to you?
It means everything. 100% everything.
Everything.
I have told everybody. I even told my wife when we got together. Sobriety is number one in my life. I don't care what it is. Sobriety is number one. If I can't have sobriety in number one in my life is shit, because I'm going to drink again. And when I drink,
Absolutely,
my life's gone. My life is gone. I know I'll be dead. I know if I drink, I will die. And it may not be a bullet in my head. It may be a wreck. God's given me this chance. Every night, the last thing I do is I tell him I love him and I thank him for the second life he's given me. Because he's given me a new life.
Yeah.
2016, November 12th, 2016, I started a new life. And I have to follow that life. Because I lived in hell for 30. I need to try to get 30 of sobriety and happiness. Yeah.
There you go. You said it. You lived in hell, and now it's time to live the rest of your life out with happiness, doing the things that you love. AA, fishing, the big old fish on the wall, and deer. It looks like a bear back there too. I see.
Yeah.
These are all great things. You know what I mean? So don't ever give those things up.
If I drink, it'll all be gone. If I drink,
same.
it'll all be gone. For sure.
Same.
I know that. And if I quit going to meetings.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Matt?
I want to touch on that very first meeting you went to, because I know for me personally, like the first time I actually identified as an addict, you know what I mean? Like that was powerful to me. Like what was that moment like for you when you're like, I'm Tony, I'm an alcoholic?
To be honest with you, a calming sensation come over my body. Because I finally realized what, I shouldn't say I knew before that alcohol had taken over me, but I knew then that I found a solution. I found a reason.
You said it.
Yeah. What'd she say? Second chances.
Yeah. I've appreciated everything after mine now.
Sorry, my sugar glucose.
It's okay. Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like,
I got a thing on my arm. Believe me, it goes off all the time. My sugar's always out of whack. So yeah, I'm used to that. But
so did you feel like you belong? Is that what it was? Did you feel like you actually belong?
Yeah. I tell people that when I was sitting in that meeting and somebody would share, that's me. The next person, that's me. That's me. That's me. And I still to this day, sometimes I'll hear somebody that, I don't relate to, but at some point in that meeting, somebody's going to share that is me. I went to Bremen Friday night and heard a lead Friday night in Bremen. I went to Friday night and heard a lead in Bremen. She had a very, very good lead. Very good lead. Then I went to Sunday night in Logan to a lead. That guy almost told my story again. And I've had several guys that's done leads and even girls that's, that has right down my alley.
Yep. Been there. I can relate with that for sure.
It's a powerful moment, man, when we finally don't feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have and that was another thing that I come to realization in the last 2 years is and I mean I talked about it before in AA meetings and stuff, but I didn't know how to live sober. Back in my drink, I didn't know how to live sober. AA taught me how to live sober, but then I didn't know how to live alone. I didn't want to live alone. I always wanted a hostage. Felt that I would literally say, I cannot live alone. I've got to have somebody with me. I've been alone for 2 years now in my house. I got a cat. and I never thought I'd ever own a cat because I hated him. And this one is he's my buddy. We fight all the time, but he's my buddy.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
but I know how to live alone now, and I live in happiness. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it's so calming. But yeah,
What would you
you got
say
anything else?
to someone who? Yeah, just a few questions, and then we'll be done.
Hey.
But what would you say to someone right now who feels like it's too late for them to change?
It's never too late. It's never too late to change. All you got to do is reach out. Somebody there
you
will
go.
be there for you. But we can't help you if you don't ask. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, this thing right here, that's 500 pounds when you want help.
You can
weighs-
tell me that drug dealer all the time.
Pick up that 500-pound phone. Yeah.
Yep.
Pick up that 500-pound phone. Yes.
But to the drug dealer or to get a ride to get a drink, it only weighs ounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. What advice would you give someone thinking about attending their first AA meeting?
If you're thinking it, then you probably want it and need it. Walk in.
So do
Walk
it. Yeah.
I have went to probably 50 meetings out of town, out of state. And I can walk up when they're standing outside smoking a cigarette before the meeting because I was taught show up early, stay late. You know, you don't
Yeah.
show up when the meeting's half over, get your paper signed, and leave before the meeting's even over. To be honest with you, when I chair and they hand me the paper, usually I say I won't sign it till after the meeting because you're going to stay until the end of the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hostage.
And when I was being
But,
forced to go to meetings, they pissed me off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I was like, man, I gotta sit through this shit.
Look at you
I
now.
used
Look at
I was court ordered way back in my addiction to go to counselor meetings. And I would go to the counselor, tell him I wasn't drinking, and the literally 2 blocks away was the AMVETS, and I'd leave there and go right straight to AMVETS and drink. Yeah. You're not going to tell me I can't drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by God, now they can. They don't have to tell me. I know what it's done.
Yeah.
I know what my life was like, and I know what my life's like now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
Especially at last minute. It was it was more than inspiring. It's encouraging even to me to this day. Like, you don't know how much I appreciate hearing you tell your story and the vulnerability that you shared with all of us tonight. And thank you for that. You know what I mean? I can't only imagine what you must have went through, but I can see the happiness in you now. So, keep living that, you know what I mean? And always remember, people, practice what you preach. You know what I mean? Like, be honest with yourself, do the next right thing. And like he said, God will be there for you and lift you up and keep moving forward. For sure. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yep.
You?
I always do say, you got to walk from the serenity or from the Lord's Prayer to the next serenity prayer. You have to be the same. It ain't just that hour.
Yeah.
It's when you walk out of that meeting until the next one. Keep showing that you're doing, and like I said, I'm not an angel. I'm not an angel by no means. I'm always stepping sideways. But,
Same.
I know when I'm stepping sideways now, or I pretty much, if I don't know it, somebody in the program's going to say, hey,
Yeah.
but yeah, I had a saying. I should have brought my big book with me in here. You, we got just a second till I can run and grab it.
Yeah.
Give me just a second.
Give me just a sec.
You're good. He's gotta go back outside. Come here, buddy. No. Sorry, I just put that one on.
Yeah.
Hello.
I know it, man. I keep looking at that pike back there. Never caught a pike before, but I want to.
What is it?
If we ever go down towards Alton, I'm gonna have to hit Tony up, go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
I should have had
Oh,
this
you're
with
good.
me.
Oh, I was just looking at the fish and the deer. I just told her if we ever go to Athens, man, we're gonna have to go fishing.
I'm on the water all the time. Just ask anybody on this page right now. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
If the water ain't froze, I'm fishing somewhere, and I'll take you.
Hey, Jay.
We can have some AA meetings on the water.
Hey, all it takes is two people.
And another thing, I was worried about an hour and a half, and here we are. But
Yeah.
And like I said, I travel all over the country, and I have people in my boat from. I had a guy a couple weeks ago. I was in Gunnersville, Alabama, fishing tournament. I had a guy from Pennsylvania, and then I had a guy from Alabama the next day. I don't hide my recovery.
Yeah,
I tell them,
absolutely.
and you wouldn't believe the people that I run into that, like, maybe I got a problem, or maybe I should check that out. I always say, sow a seed,
That's it.
Yes.
and it'll grow. It'll grow. Sow it, it'll grow. Two guys done it in 1934.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got together and started, and here we are today.
Did you get your saying?
Yes, I got it. And I can't believe I didn't bring it. I meant to have it in here.
It's
But
okay.
I always end my lead with this saying, I'm going to be okay because I know who I am, what I am, and whose I am.
Ooh. That's good. That's good.
I heard that in a
Thank
lead
you.
years ago, and I wrote it down and put it on the front of my big book.
Hell yeah.
Mm. Well, we appreciate you sharing that with us. And once again, thank you for your vulnerability and last minute joining our show tonight because we had a cancellation. And thank you. Just once again, thank you. We appreciate you more than you know.
Honestly, I think this was
Meant to be.
yeah. Like I'm going through some stuff personally right now with loss, I guess you could say. And I needed to hear your story, man.
Mm.
I appreciate it.
Not a problem. And I just pray to God one person tonight gets something out of this. Because,
I know you got two sitting right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's more than one person.
Yeah,
brother.
you got two of them sitting right here. And we
Yeah.
appreciate you more than you know. And thank you once again.
one last thing. I had a guy that was in our fishing club that was in AA for probably over, when he died, I'd say he probably had 40 some years of sobriety. And he watched me in my worst alcoholism and never once said anything to me about going to AA. And the first meeting he seen me in AA, he started bawling. And I started bawling. He said, I never thought you'd ever see it.
Woo! Yeah,
I
that's it.
he died of cancer, and I found him in his wheelchair.
Aw.
But he yeah, he was very inspirational to me, because he didn't push it on me. They never, and that was one thing. And then we'll get out of here. My son told his wife, and I found out this later, he was never going to go to AA because he wasn't going to be told what to do. AA's never told me what to do. They've given me suggestions, and that my sponsor told me, I'll give you suggestions. When you quit taking suggestions, I quit giving them.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, okay.
You know, I think you're going to be okay, Tony. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you said you can't just work the steps, you got to live them, man, I feel that in my soul, because, you know, in and out of treatments, and I went to meetings for years and years, and none of it ever stuck, but I never applied any of it to my life.
And we're going to make a shirt, so
Absolutely.
stay tuned, guys. Tony's shirt is coming, and then enjoy.
I'd say they should teach 12. I say they should teach the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and NA in school, because everybody's life would be a lot better if they did.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate,
Tony,
and Thomas and Ashley, and all the ones that's been on here, Travis, everybody, they have been so much inspiration to me, and I tell newcomers, you're giving me something every day. When I see you doing what you're doing, you're showing me, because the longer we get, they told me, the longer I get away from my more sobriety I get, the further closer to a drink I become, because I think, I've got this.
Yeah.
I ain't got this. Ain't never going to happen.
Ever.
Remember
that, guys. Ever.
Yep. Ever. Exactly.
Ever.
I will always be an alcoholic.
I will always be an alcoholic addict.
Yep.
There we go, guys. There it is. Drop it. All right, everybody, have a good night. Show Tony some love. Share out his episode tonight. It'll be available on YouTube. We'll be making his shirt. And join us Monday with Rebecca Lentz.
Tony, what's your favorite color, buddy?
Rebecca Lentz, I should say.
Favorite color?
Yeah.
Probably red.
All right. We got you, Tony. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Tony, once again. And we will see everybody Monday.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, guys. Okay, bye.